In the first reading tonight, we hear the prophet Isaiah saying, "Comfort, comfort to my people, shout comfort to my people." And I think a little bit of just really quick historical context for that. If you think of the arc of the Old Testament, it is basically one in which God brings and establishes His people, Israel, and then they are led into slavery in Egypt for hundreds of years. But then with Moses and the Exodus, they're brought out of slavery and they wander through the desert for 40 years. And then they finally settle in the Promised Land. And all of the great wonders and signs that were worked for them and all of the strong and powerful nations that were there, God cleared the way for the Israelites to settle there in the Promised Land. And they built the temple, and it was seen as the land itself was seen as this fulfillment and this gift of God, and it was theirs. And it was a promise fulfilled through the actual land. And so what happens is then in the Old Testament, as they go forward, though, there are some the people start to really go astray from God, and they are actually led out of the Promised Land. They are captured and taken out of the Promised Land. A lot of them are. And so it's kind of like America being captured like by Canada or something like that. Most of us having then to relocate to Canada. And they had to settle there, and they lived there for many, many generations. And they longed for the ability, obviously, to return to the Promised Land, to that land that was that sign that God had loved them and blessed them with this land. What happens is another king comes and frees them, conquers the Babylonian kingdom gets conquered, and so the Israelites are allowed to return home for the first time in many, many generations. And so this first reading is the prophet Isaiah saying, "Comfort, good news, it's time to go home. It's time to return back to the Promised Land." And that obviously would have been huge rejoicing. And an amazing news and great news that it was time to return home. And I think that obviously then has application for us as well and in this Advent season. I think it provides for us a template of what it is that we're supposed to be saying to those around us as well. We are to bring comfort and good news to all of the people that we meet in our daily lives, our daily lives at work, in our families, amongst our friends, the people that we run into, everyone. We are supposed to be bringing them the good news. And the good news is that just like Babylon was for the Israelites, this place is not home. It is not our home. It is not the final destination, and this place is not the end of the story. And that's good news, especially for those who are suffering. If we're very comfortable, which Jesus warns against, if we get settled and we get into this, we can start to think of this place as the end and the end of the story, and we stop thinking about the end of the journey, especially if we are rich and we have many blessings. Jesus is always warning those who have money. He's warning them, and possessions can lead us to start to really kind of just say, you know what, if this is it, that's fine. I'll stay here for the rest of my life, live here forever. But for those who are afflicted, those who are suffering, and those who are not here, those maybe who have not accepted Christ at all into their heart, those who, as St. Peter is encouraging us in the second reading, those who are not living according to the teachings of Christ, they need to know that there is comfort and there is good news, and that this is not the end of the world. There is a place that we are still heading for. And this time and this life is one of journey where we are heading toward our heavenly homeland. That place where there will be all joy, where 1,000 years are like a day and like a day is like 1,000 years. He means by that we're so raptured and we're so caught up in joy and peace and happiness that there is no time in heaven. And so many people need to hear that. They need to be told it's time to start going home. It's time to start making our way toward the heavenly Jerusalem. It's time to start making our way toward the kingdom of hope that God has prepared for us. This is not the end of all things. This world is not completely wicked, it's not completely evil, but it's not the stopping point. It's not the stopping point. And so Advent then provides for us an opportunity to step back and remember that. To step away from the world for 5 minutes or an hour or whatever it might be, to spend some time in prayer. And all of our prayer really should be about that. Reminding ourselves of where we're really headed. Or rather, to whom we're really headed. And St. John the Baptist and all of the saints and all of the great people, we hear about St. John the Baptist in the gospel, not a guy you'd probably invite to your Christmas party, right? Dressed in weird clothing, talking about the end of the world, talking about heaven, talking about the need to reform our lives so that we will go there. But all the saints are people who do that, and all of us are called to be people who do that, who serve as a sign to the world that this is not it. This is not the end of the story. And there is a better home for which we are headed. So we pray for the strength today to be people who go out and who grab people who are suffering, who are in need of the good news and who are in need of Jesus Christ. We pray for the strength and the courage to grab them by the hand and help them up and say, rise, it's time to start making our way home. Because it is there where every tear will be wiped away and we will finally see God face to face.